You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Hi, welcome to this Subway ad for the new Sesame Ginger Glazed Chicken Signature Wrap. How would you like it?
I'll take a...
Sports announcer at home?
Yeah, how'd you...
We just know.
My wife picks up the new Signature Wrap. It's got double the rotisserie-style chicken mixed with a sesame ginger glaze. She appears annoyed at me, but she shrugs it off. Those sweet and savory flavors are calling her name. She lifts the wrap and she takes the bite! Incredible! And now she's closing the door on my... Subway, make it what you want.
Limited time only at participating restaurants. Double meat based on average 6-inch sub.
I'm Little Teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
It's the refreshingly non-political podcast about everything else.
I'm Alan Ray, and I do this for free.
For millions of years, mankind lived just like the animals. And something happened, which unleashed the power of our imagination. We learned to talk.
I'm drowning. You'll never talk to me. No, I can't breathe now. What are you thinking? We're going nowhere. What are you feeling? We're going nowhere. Why won't you talk to me? You'll never talk to me. What are you thinking?
Here's your host, Alan Ray, and he does this for free.
It doesn't have to be like this. All we need to do is make sure we keep talking.
It is the refreshingly non-political podcast about everything else, and I am your humble host, Alan Ray, on a political-free Friday night. You just heard In the Crease. Before that, you heard Chick Chat. You gotta love political-free Friday nights, and after you get done with my bloviations, you're going to hear Juxtaposition. I mean, What more can you want? It's KLRNradio.net right now. For the time being, it's America's podcast network. And you know what? Hang tight, because I'm going to tell you right now, we're all bored. But the last thing I want to talk about, after 3 flipping weeks of talking about this, the last thing I want to talk about is the big C word. So hang tight. We're going to have some fun. You're probably locked in your house right now. If you live in Michiganistan, you're probably locked in your closet by now because grits, but we're not going to talk about politics. Nope, I'm going to stay off of that. We're going to stay off of the P word. We're going to stay off of the C word. But I am going to throw this out. I'm live. This has been on my bucket list for 3 years now. And I actually have something around this house that works. Oh my gosh. So the first thing I want to do is throw this out to chat, and I see you all in there. We're going to play a game, okay? Ask me any question at all, and I'll answer you. Wrong answers only. Here we go. And in the meantime, while you get those questions around, hey, let's kick it off. What the last few weeks have been crazy. I know that, but there are other things going on this planet, in this universe right now, other than being locked in your house, other than having your nose pinched in your television or doing whatever you're doing. And, you know, I always thought that if I got all of this time off, that I would just like tear down the living room and rebuild everything. And it turns out it wasn't about the time. It's about my motivation. But there was things. This is a big week. Especially when you're us and you're nerds. We got a nerd alert. The whole thing. Nerd alert. That's right. We have 2 major anniversaries going on this week. Yes, Orty, a game, I say. Ask me any questions. I'll answer you. Wrong. Who replaced Paul McCartney when he died in a car accident? It was Richard Nixon. I got a feeling we're not going to get to any of the content except answering questions. When was the last time you enjoyed spider milk or on grape nuts? The last time, in fact, just before I came on the air, I had spider milk on grape nuts. Can you believe that? Anyways, the first thing I wanted to hit off with tonight is 30th anniversary of the Hubble telescope. Is this a nerd fest or what? Can you believe that? April 24th, 1990. So I'm not going to see you or listen. You're not going to have to listen to my crap again for another couple of weeks. So April 24th is going to come and go. I'm going to be kicking back, enjoying myself while you guys all work or being locked in your house. Anyways, April 24th, 1990 was the year that they launched the Hubble telescope off of the cargo space shuttle Discovery 30 years ago. Anthony wasn't even born 30 years ago. He was still, in fact, I was just married when this thing launched. Oh God, I'm old. Anyways, it was a great idea when it first launched. However, a few things failed. Number one, they didn't grind the main lens to where it needed to be. So when they turned it on and, you know, all of their newscasts and everything going, oh, this is going to be a great accomplishment of man. We're going to be able to see forever and ever and ever. Everything was out of focus. And they went, oh boy. And it kind of became the laughing stock. But 4 years later, actually, they went up. And since then they have done 4 updates to the Hubble telescope. And the thing is incredible. They've got it now where this was only supposed to be a 15-year deal. Okay. It ended up with the updates and everything after the 4th mission. This thing is supposedly going to be up there until around 2046 when they will do a controlled burn back into the atmosphere and kill it. All right. We've started it out. Let's read some questions from the chat room. My son, Exterminator Fat Boy, Anthony in the chat room says, did I return Raven Rock to you? I don't have a clue. Have you read it? No, you did not. In fact, I think you burned it for firewood. Let's see. If you were the Bengals, would you pass up picking Joe Burrow and trade the first pick? And how many draft picks would you need in exchange? That's from Ron. I would not be the Bengals. In fact, I think basically they should just sell or combine the Bengals and the Browns and call them the Detroit Lions. Why is there air? Because if there wasn't, what would you do when you went swimming? I mean, you would come up for what? Thor ruined, say Hubble. Yeah. Hubble telescope got ruined by Thor. I'm not old, AJ. Why does every woman on earth hate me? Ron, every woman on earth loves you. Remember, wrong answers only. Anyways, the Hubble telescope, this is the wild thing about it. 30 years. The mirror, the big 94.5-inch mirror that was out there was misground by 2 microns. 2 microns. 2 microns is 1/50th the thickness of a human hair. They did that, but if you think about it, it makes sense, right? Because if you're looking way out there into space, and you have, you've misground this telescope lens by 2 microns, you've pretty much, when you're talking millions and millions and millions of miles, it's just like shooting. Okay. If your scope is off, a quarter of an inch at 10 yards, it's going to be off like a foot at 100. Okay. That's just the way it is. So same thing with grinding this, right. Jeff, you're exactly right, but I'm not going to say that on my show because no politics. Anyway, so they had to go up there basically in 1993 and give it a pair of glasses, pretty much is what they did. They couldn't really put in a new lens. So what they did was they corrected everything around the main lens, and lo and behold, it came into focus. 1997, they went up there a second time, for the second update. And they updated it to all of the software, gyroscopes, things like that. 1999, they did a third mission, had to replace a bunch of other stuff. And as recently as 2009, they did their 4th major update, brought it into the new millennium. This thing is now all digital, all state of the art. And they're thinking, barring something weird doesn't happen, this thing is going to take us into 2046. So happy 30th birthday, Hubble telescope. Now, to me, I mean, if you go online and you look at the pictures of Hubble, and yes, JC, you are 2 microns off. Anyway, probably more than that. Anyways, I'm sorry to talk to chat. If you're catching this on the replay, these guys are harassing me because I'm live and I don't care. That's fine. Anyways, I digress a little bit here. What you got there is when they launched that and they put that up in space, and even the blurry pictures that they first showed were better than anything we have ever seen. You go on the Hubble site and start scrolling through the pictures. They have photos, what they call deep space, extreme deep space. I mean, we can't even imagine. There's no way human beings can imagine, especially like in 1610 when Galileo first pointed his telescope to the skies and things started coming into view. How could he imagine that in 2020, we would be able to bring up online on these little magic boxes we have called computers that frustrate us so bad, and look at galaxies, thousands of galaxies around us. So happy 30th birthday. Let's go back to some questions. Ron, is sex in zero gravity even possible? And if so, would it be worth it? Yes, sex is always worth it. Not really. Let's see. Follow-up question. Would we have to invent geostationary mile club? Now, it's already been invented. That happened with the, I'm not going to go into it, but one of the Apollo missions, there was some funny stuff going on there. Those guys weren't quite right. Anyways, what else do we have here? No. Okay. We're through the questions now, and these guys are going to kill me. We have another birthday. 50 years ago, when I was but a wee lad, was the big Apollo 13. 3 astronauts survived re-entry. And if you haven't watched the movie, watch the movie. I've made it most of the way through it, but I kept getting, interrupted, harassed, things like that. And I finally gave up. But what I saw was pretty true to what happened up there. And I was looking at StarTribune.com. It says, how much safer will it be next time that people head to the moon more than 50 years later? Safer, yes, but not completely safe. We have to understand that space flight, you're operating in a very difficult environment, said Gene Kranz, flight director who's in charge in missions control on the night of April 13, 1970, when Apollo 13 went awry. The mission had launched 2 days earlier, and the astronauts aboard, James Lovell Jr., Fred Hayes Jr., and John Swigert Jr., were 200,000 miles from Earth. That's not like, hey, let's just find the next rest stop and call a tow truck. Okay, that's some major stuff right there. Just after 10 p.m., Mission Control asked Swigert, pilot of the command module that was to orbit the moon, to perform a cryostir, a routine task to whisk ultra-cold hydrogen and oxygen in propellant tanks. That prevented the propellants from separating into 2 layers, which causes misleading pressure readings. So he did that. And no, he did not say, Houston, we have a problem. What he did say was a warning light lit up, and he said, I believe we've had a problem here. Unknown to anyone at the time, wires inside of one of the oxygen tanks in the service module were damaged. When Swigert flipped the switch, that generated a spark that ignited the wire's insulation, and the tank ruptured, emptying its contents into space. The other oxygen tank was also leaking. So basically what they did was they got into, the command module was basically dying. So what they did was they got into the lunar module. Now, what you may or may not know about the lunar module is, and there is a gentleman out there, and I'm not going to go into his name, not going to get much into it, but there's a complete book about how there's a man who insisted. He fought, yelled, screamed, went above the people who were in charge of him to the people way over his head and said, you have to do a lunar orbit with a module that lands on the moon and then comes back to the orbiting space vehicle and take that back, or you're going to basically fail at this mission. He was harassed. He was told he was crazy, all of this stuff. And when they finally figured out that he knew what he was talking about, that's why you had the lunar module. And if it wasn't for that lunar module, the guys from Apollo 13 would not have made it back to Earth safely, because they basically stayed in there until it was time to re-enter Earth's atmosphere. And the rest of the story. The rest of the story is they actually made it down. They landed safely. They basically, there wasn't much they could do. They could try to do a U-turn, but that would have required firing the damaged, the engines in the damaged service module, probably would have blown them up. They took a path around the moon. They had a longer voyage home, but one of the ground crew bet would be a safer path. So they basically slingshotted around the moon, came back to Earth, and they manually landed that thing. So it was an amazing story. If you get a chance, go on, like I said, this is a nerd fest, somewhat of it. So if you get a chance, go on to just study history, watch the movie. And I know they were just getting over the disease, but Tom Hanks is in it. But you get down a rabbit hole every once in a while. You do these things and you start studying. And just like a couple of weeks ago, I was on Juxtaposition with Ordy and Rick, which is coming up right after I do this for free. And you get down these rabbit holes. I started studying what we were going to talk about there. And we were studying, rock and roll and satanic and, rites and things that, people dying, the 27 Club, all that. And I just went down rabbit hole after rabbit hole. And next thing you know, I've got all this information. I go, well, what the heck? How am I going to get all of this into a single hour? You could almost, and I was telling those guys, you could probably do weeks worth of that. You could probably do a whole show based on rock and roll and the connections and the deaths and all that. Well, same thing with space. You start doing all this, and I just happened to chase a rabbit, and I started, hitting different things. And one of the articles I ran across was, why did the Soviets never make it to the moon? If you were alive in the 60s and early 70s, there was a race. That it was the Soviet Union versus the United States of America. Soviet Unions held all the cards. They were the first ones to orbit the Earth, first ones in space. They were the first ones to send probes to the lunar surface. Well, why did they never actually step foot on there? Well, if you were a betting person, you would have bet on them. And the Soviet Union already beat the United States to the moon with its series of Luna probes. Luna 1 performed the first flyby of the moon on January 1959, and later, in September of 59, Luna 2 became the first man-made object to reach the moon when it crash-landed on purpose in the Sea of Serenity. In October of the same year, Luna 3 took the first photos of the dark side of the moon, and I'm not talking about the album, guys. I'm talking about the actual surface of the moon. So that wasn't the same as stepping on the moon. And one of the major problems that arose from launching human beings to the moon was that the Soviets were going to use a rocket very similar in size to the Apollo rockets. The problem was, instead of 4 gigantic rockets, they were going to use something like 30 smaller rockets. They were smaller but more efficient. The problem was, it was really hard to plumb all of these 30 smaller efficient rockets and make them where they would fire in sync. Incredibly difficult. In fact, in February 21st, 1969, the first N-1 rocket that they were going to use, test flight, blasted off in Soviet Kazakhstan or whatever, and crashed after 66 seconds. The second one launched on July 3rd of the same year, but that rocket fell back to its pad 9 seconds after launch, exploding with the force of a small nuclear bomb and destroying the whole launch facility. 17 days later, after that, Neil Armstrong made the first step onto the moon of a human being. So just like that, the Cold War space race to the moon was over. So that's why. Inefficiency. Absolutely nuts. If you look at how they were going to, if they could have, and nowadays they probably could have used computers to really, sink all of those 30 rockets, and shoot it up there, and it probably would have had a pretty good chance of making it. Now, unfortunately, we rely on the Soviets for rides to the moon temporarily. We are, however, getting back there. And if you are paying attention to this kind of thing, you're going to know that SpaceX and all those other good people are just months away from launching again. Just months. So, yes, there are other things going on. And who knows what's going to happen in the future. There already is tension. It's kind of funny almost, but in a way it's kind of scary. There's already tension between the United States of America and Russia, the former Soviet Union, about Soviets saying that, we're forcing our way up into space and claiming things that aren't rightfully ours, that we're destroying the global mankind search for truth in space. And they're turning right around, and they've already launched a satellite killer. The Soviet Union, former Soviet Union, Russia has launched a satellite killer, and we've been watching that, and it's kind of shaking everything up. Kind of interesting. Okay. Let's see. What do we got here? We got questions. Best blues guitarist. I can tell you It's not me. Best blues guitarist was a little man named Elmer, and he lives just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, and he plays a one-string guitar. He is known for playing almost symphonies of blues on this. Thank you for that question, Ron, and there's your wrong answer. Let's see. What else do we have here? Do we got any other ones? The best Willie Dixon song is Fly Like an Eagle. Yes, that's the best one. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions we have that I can answer wrong while we're live, while we're doing this fun. Okay. We are probably, it's 25 minutes. So let's try to get this last story out of the way before we take the break. Kiev, Ukraine is on fire. And this is from the Associated Press. Smoke from wildfires and the contaminated evacuation around the wrecked Chernobyl nuclear power plant has engulfed Kiev, placing the Ukrainian capital near the top of the global air pollution index. Okay, whatever. The authorities said Friday that radiation levels in Kiev have remained normal, but they advise residents to stay home and close their windows. About 1,000 firefighters are backed by aircraft, have been deployed to battle the forest blazes near the site of the world's worst nuclear accident, which took place 34 years ago. 34 years ago. Chernobyl was 34 years ago? Oh my gosh. Yeah, these news articles are really going above and beyond to make me feel really, really old. But anyways, live air quality data on IQAIR.com placed the Ukrainian capital right behind several cities in China in air pollution on Friday. Now, this is a big problem then because China is kind of foggy and smoggy and dense and nobody can breathe there. The authorities in Kiev said radiation levels in the capital, which is about 100 kilometers, 60 miles south of the planet, were within norms. They also insisted that wildfires were posing no threat to radioactive waste dumps and other facilities in Chernobyl, but advised Kiev residents to drink a lot of water and cover windows with wet fabric if they open them, which pretty much means there's radiation. Fires are in a 2,600 square kilometer Chernobyl exclusion zone that was established after this 1986 disaster at the plant that sent clouds of radioactive fallout over much of Europe. And that's why everybody who was a young adult, young teenager in 1986 has a thing growing out the side of their head that looks like a Buick because we're all suffering from radiation. Let's do a couple more questions before we go to our half of the roll. How many licks does it take to get to the center of the Tootsie Roll? That's from Jeff. 27. I know that for a fact. 27. Best drummer, John Bonham, Neil Peart, or Keith Moon. This is from Ron. Actually, the best drummer was a middle schooler named Nerdly Schmickerfasen. No, just kidding. I have no idea. John Bonham, he's too busy. Neil Peart is really, really busy, but he makes sense. Keith Moon, I think, was just on cocaine most of the time. But, put them all together and let them go. In fact, it would be nice to get all these drummers together and just weed out all the guitar parts and stuff like that and just string them all together and just have one big drum song. I am Alan Ray. This is the refreshingly non-political podcast about everything else. And yes, I do this for free, not a dime paid. Hope you're having a wonderful Friday night. We're enjoying ourselves. It is Political Free Friday. We are on America's podcast network, KLRN Radio. You need to tune into this place. And I can't believe it, but I actually have enough internet to do this thing live. And I'm so excited right now. I think I peed a little. Not really. We will be back in about 3 minutes and we'll pick up where we left off. Let's do this.
Listen now and don't forget, if you go for that solid jive, you can always keep the dream alive. Palin with Al.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
Yes, it is Alan Ray. And this is the Refreshingly Non-Political Podcast about everything else. I do this for free, not a dime paid. And broadcasting, coming live to you from Gadsden Studios in the, well, they're not cornfields of southeastern Michigan. It's actually the frozen, snowy tundra of southeastern Michigan right now. 48 hours ago, I was walking the dog in kind of windy, cool, wasn't too bad. I had a jacket and a coat on. But it was nice. It was green. I was just looking at how all the trees were budding. It was beautiful. Woke up this morning and it started snowing just a little bit. And a few hours later, we probably had a couple of inches. By the end of it, we had probably about 4 inches of snow. And by the end of the day, it's back down to about an inch. Make up your mind. It's Michigan. It's April. What do you do? The CDC would like to remind you that during this time of being closed into your house, to limit your alcohol intake, if you would be so kind, please. Apparently, we are taking this opportunity of being enclosed in our houses to drink excessively. I just get this gut feeling that when we come out of all of this, we are going to all be 300-pound alcoholics. Oh, well, CDC never meant that much to me anyway. Moving on. It's been quite the last few weeks. I refuse to talk about the thing. Okay. The thing. And, but what I want to do is address some of the things that I've been noticing are going on. People are getting edgy. People are getting grouchy. People are getting irritable. And the best part about it, though, is we have not lost our sense of humor. And that makes me smile. That makes me happy. I have never seen better collections of memes, of sayings, of things rising out of this. We as Americans, we tackle problems with a sense of humor. Not me. I'm on my way to the 6th case of beer for the last 2 weeks. Okay, Mike, let's ease up on the gas a little bit. Anyways, but there's things you can do. There's things you can do. I personally, if this keeps up, if this keeps going, I just found out this morning that I have the next 12 days off. And Anthony, if you're still on, you're still listening to me, haha. He works for the same place I do. So they called me up and said, hey, you've got a replacement for the next week. So stay home. We'll see you in 11, 12 days. And I'm like, yes, I have a studio. I have a microphone. I have podcasts. I have recordings. And quite honestly, I'm just going to immerse myself. And when I come out of the other end of all of this, I'm probably going to be a halfway decent guitar player, or I'm going to do the whole John Belushi thing and smash my guitars against the wall because I'm tired of them. We'll see what happens. But yeah, social media used in the right way, I'm going to put that out there, can be very therapeutic. As you've heard on Cyber Wars, please don't use Zoom. Please, I'm begging you. I implore you. Lou, Jeff, Ordy, all implore you. Please do not use Zoom. It's just the perfect way to get yourself hacked. We'll put it that way. And let's see, guys in the chat, what are you all doing during this lockdown? Of course, I know what Anthony's doing. He's embracing the inner nerd and playing Dungeons and Dragons. No, he's not. He's playing video games. I know what he's doing. Let's see. A lot of you are staying on Twitter and Facebook. And Rick is here to chew bubblegum and listen to Al live, and he's all out of bubblegum. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. I need to watch that movie again. Yep, that's right. Bill, Zoom. Yep. And we really, really need to get back. One of the cool things that's going to come through all of this, I get the feeling, is going to be we actually start reconnecting with our families again. It's so easy to ignore everybody else in your household. And all of a sudden, you have to look at other people in your household. Oh, look, I've got children. Oh, look, I have a wife. I have a husband. I have a spouse. You know, where did you come from? It's actually not all that bad. I find it kind of nice. I mean, I'm getting close to retirement age. I'm considering this a practice run. That's what it is for me. But you got to hang in there. It's all going to ease up pretty soon, one way or another. We're going to get back to it. I've been taking care and I started being a germaphobe back in November when all the people around me started getting a flu. And so it's paid off. And it really is starting to, I think we're actually having more fun hanging out, my wife and I, because we are empty nesters now. All the kids have moved out. They've all got their own problems. They've all got their own worries. But I'm going to remind you of a few things. Okay. You have to remember the way you get sick. And I'm not just talking about the C word. I'm talking about any sickness. When I decided to get my head out of my backside and go back to college about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, one of the things I had to do was take a science class. I tried chemistry back in the 80s, back in 1984 and 85 when I was going to college in Nashville the first time. Now, that was before everybody had a computer in their room and you actually had to do things on a calculator or write them out longhand. I was not good at I didn't even realize biology was a thing, but I was not good at chemistry. I was very bad at chemistry. The only good thing that came out of that chemistry class was the girl I sat next to was really cute, and we decided to go out a couple of times. That was a cool thing. Our chemistry teacher reminded me of Mr. Rogers, but everything he tried failed. And I'm going, how can you be a teacher if you can't even just, oh, man. Yeah, chocolate. That's the word, Rick. The C word is chocolate. You've got me figured out. Unfortunately, I've eaten all the chocolate in the house already, and what I haven't eaten, my wife has. No, that's not the C word. Anyways, when I got my head onto my hind end, went back to college, I had to have a science class because I failed miserably with chemistry. So I took biology. And I'm like, why didn't I think of this earlier? So I took biology and we started doing all of these tests. The labs were fun. We had a blast and we did germ testing. I will tell you right now, and this really grossed me out, a cell phone, the swab we did on a cell phone was twice as germ-ridden and nasty as somebody's swab on a toilet seat. I'm not even kidding you. It was disgusting. Since that day, I have made it a practice to completely swab down with Clorox wipes or whatever I can do, some kind of disinfectant. Cell phones, tablets, anything you touch quite a few times, you need to make sure they are clean. Now, I didn't realize this, but there's actually a procedure recommended on cleaning tablets and stuff. It says, before you start, and this is from, what is this? Trustedreviews.com. Doesn't that sound very snobby? And the author's Ruth Gocroger. Wow. What a name. Sounds like a grouchy librarian. Anyway, it says it's a good idea to learn how to clean your tablets and remove any of the nasties on the surface along with your grubby fingerprints. Before you start, remember to power down your device. Never clean your device while it's on. Make sure it's unplugged and you don't want to mash any buttons while you're wiping it down. I'm guilty of doing that several times. First, you want to find a soft cloth, lint-free for cloth for cleaning. This should be the only type of dry cloth you should use on your screen. Don't be tempted to scrub with anything that has a scratchy surface. Avoid using paper towels or anything else, just like you would do your glasses. Then gently wipe across your screen. I don't do any of this stuff. You know what I do? I skip to the bottom. Okay, she gets to the very bottom of this article. Then she gets in my territory. If you need to go the extra mile, try getting some isopropyl-based alcohol wipes or Clorox disinfecting wipes. That's what I do. Apple has just recently confirmed that these can be used on the company's products to disinfect surfaces. But we still recommend being a little cautious with these types of wipes as they could remove the coating on other non-Apple tablets. I've been using Clorox wipes on everything, tablet and cell phone, for years. And quite honestly, I'm looking at my cell phone. We're way past our contract. They don't even do contracts anymore from what I hear. And this cell phone is spotless, baby. I am proud. Of this cell phone. So when you're disinfecting, when you're getting the gross stuff out of your life, don't forget to hit your cell phones. Don't forget to do your tablets. Because remember, you sit there and you pick them things. You eat. And I know, don't tell me you don't do this, okay? You sit there and you have a snack or you eat dinner and you're on your cell phone or you're on your tablet, especially when you're by yourself. You got a big pile of snacks, a big pile of stuff that you're chowing down. You take a bite and then you scroll across your tablet to the next thing. Gross. You're being gross. Anything. You have to remember little things like that. Doorknobs, all that stuff. Stay healthy. I learned all this stuff. Like I said, I started becoming a germaphobe back in November when everybody around me was getting sick. But there's things you touch you don't really even think about. And I don't know if any of you have really even thought about it, but to me, one of the hardest things I've had to do is I have to wear rubber gloves for some of the jobs I do at work. And the second I put them things on, and I don't care where I'm at, what I'm doing, the very moment I put them things on, my nose itches, my eyes start watering, something on my face starts bothering me. It's just like, oh my gosh. Yep, dirty doorknobs, shades of 1968. You are correct, sir. Bill in the chat, I'm on to you. So, yeah, stay healthy. Still not mentioning the thing that's out there lurking about, but I'm just telling you, clean your tablets, clean your phones. They're disgusting. We did those tests on them, and I'll never, for the end of my life, I'll always remember when we came back the next week and looked at our experiments, how nasty and disgusting the cell phone swab was. It was worse than anything else in there, including, the second worst was a drinking fountain. Drinking fountains are bad. Okay. Very bad. So kind of refrain from those too. Those are nasty. Do we have dead air? I hope we don't have dead air. I'm not showing dead air. Anyway. Good. We're good there. Good. Thank you, Jeff. I'm going to leave you with one more thing. We've got about 15 more minutes. And, what I want to talk to you about is fairly serious, actually. These are uncertain times. Now, I've gone through a lot of times of uncertainty. I'm just coming off. This is what kills me about everything that's going on right now. I just came off of several years of absolute chaos. The last 3 years, my entire life has gotten back in order. Things have been swinging correctly, going the right way, and I'm going, oh my gosh, maybe I can surf the next 10, 15 years to retirement and be happy and just, live happily ever after. Folks, there's no happily ever after. In fact, the struggle, the journey is the best part of life. What we're going through right now is a bump. Times are uncertain. And I was just scrolling through there, and I always want you to leave my show a little bit more knowledgeable than when you came in. Even though I screw around, even though I have fun, I want you to be a little more knowledgeable when you leave. I want you to learn something other than some of my foolish stuff. I found this hbr.org blog. It said, do not let uncertainty paralyze you. Now, I'm not going to say the C word, but it says, when confronting a situation freighted with anxiety and ambiguity, a recession, job loss, what we're going through right now, an unwanted family change, most of us can imagine no upside. It's just a psychological thing. We become paralyzed, caught in a state I call unproductive uncertainty. But some can see their way through such moments and find a positive path forward. How do you do that? How do you open your eyes? When threatened with an unproductive uncertainty, we may become so focused on the immediate situation that we overlook the broader possibilities. This not only creates disquiet, but can also lead us to make rash decisions or forego opportunities because we don't even recognize them. Psychologists call this tendency to miss the bigger picture status quo bias, or big fish, small pond effect, or relative deprivation. A good way to think about this, of how narrow thinking leads to poor decisions, comes from Malcolm Gladwell, examining why university students chose to pursue STEM degrees. And by STEM degrees, I mean science, technology, engineering, and math, yada, yada. He found out that the typical U.S. university students whose SAT scores put them among their school's top third had a 50% chance of pursuing a STEM degree. Now, those in the bottom third had only a 15% chance of doing so. He argued that the bottom third looked around, realized they weren't as smart as their peers, and chose easier majors. But when he analyzed SAT scores and STEM degrees among Harvard students, he found the same distribution. Why? Because human nature leads us to make decisions on the basis of our lived experience rather than with the eye of the bigger picture. The lowest scoring Harvard student are certainly smart enough to succeed in a STEM discipline, but they can't see that big picture and thus don't give themselves the chance. By contrast, the innovators I studied have learned to look for possibilities where others can't imagine them. So what we're talking about here, and I can really relate to this, and I hope you can too. Yeah, I don't know. After I turned 50, it was almost like all bets were off. I started creating a bucket list. I started adding on to things. One of them was I put songs out on social media. The first couple sucked. every once in a while, I put one out there that everybody likes. Everybody goes, wow, that was cool. Most of them, everybody goes, oh yeah, good job, buddy. You know, I'm gonna put that on the fridge right next to the lunch menu schedule. Hey, good job. But I put them out there. I'm very self-conscious about them. However, in the famous words of the lead singer of the Foo Fighters, David Grohl, you start a band and you suck. And you suck and you suck and you keep sucking until one day you wake up and you realize that you've learned your instrument, you've learned how to play, and you become pretty good. Now, being shut in like we are, being told to, I guess, downsized. I'm not actually shut in. I go outside. I do things all the time. I have to go to work a couple times a week. And for the next 11, 12 days, I am shut in. But I'm going to take that opportunity to refine. And one of my bucket list goals is to actually do a 2-hour show with just me and my guitar and a microphone and my harmonica, which I play along with my guitar. It's a little Tom Petty going on there. And when I first started trying to put together a show, oh my gosh, my fingers hurt. I was awkward. I'm a bass player. I'm not a guitar player. But I kept working and working. And you know what? I'm about 2/3 of the way from being able to do exactly what I want to do. And that's put on a 2-hour show at maybe a local winery, local place like that, and be actually proficient in what I'm doing. It's really easy. And I've fallen into this. I learned this as a very, very young man. It's very easy to look around you at your competition and go, oh my gosh, I'm a horrible person. I can't, I don't have the talent. And I'm going to throw this out there for you. I went to Nashville in 1984. I went to Nashville and I went, okay, I'm a big bad bass player. I'm all that. I'm good. I went down there and within a few weeks, I learned that I was probably one of the worst bass players ever to have lived at that time. There were people down there that could do things with a bass guitar that I couldn't even imagine. They were really, really, really good. And I came home after a couple of years with my tail tucked between my legs like a dog that had been beat. But after a while, I started realizing I'm never going to be as good as some of those guys. But what was more important, I learned as years go by, is to actually, you don't really have to be as good, but you have to learn to play with other people. And one thing I pride myself on, one thing I can still do to this day, is walk into a place with other musicians and blend in with them, keep it really simple playing bass or a little more complex, whatever the tune calls for. I'm not the best. I'm never going to be the best, but people think I'm pretty good because I can blend in with a band, and that's what counts. It's not how many notes you can play per minute. It's not how showy you are. In fact, I can't stand showy bass players. Yeah, maybe Les Claypool. Okay. Maybe those people that are just the center of their band bass playing. But when you have somebody that is trying to show out when they should be blending with the other members of the band, it just ruins the whole thing. That's what we're talking about here. Yes, things are weird. Things are uncomfortable right now. Don't be paralyzed by them. Don't get yourself into a shell and say, I can't. Don't get yourself into this shell and say, things will never be the same again. I can't go back to the way it was. We're not going to go out there and live our lives again. Yes, you are. This is fleeting. This is passing. Probably a few months from now, we're barely going to remember this. Your kids will grow up and they'll say, oh, hey, what did you do during the great disease of the 20s? Oh, yeah, we got locked in our house for a couple of weeks. It's really not that bad. We don't have an invading force burning down houses and driving you from your cities and towns. Basically, people are getting sick. And as bad as it seems on the outside, not that many people really are dying. There are some, and that's unfortunate. There are a lot of people getting sick, but most of them are getting better. Don't be paralyzed by uncertainty. Don't be paralyzed by doubt. take the opportunity, especially if you are healthy, the people around you are healthy, things are doing good, and you're just shut in. Take this opportunity to start refining, doing something unusual, doing something different, immersing yourself in writing or doing something that is on your bucket list you've always wanted to do. Now's the time to do it. Except if it's, mountain climbing or something that they've got closed. You can't really do that. But what I'm doing right here. I never, ever, ever thought that I could get away with doing a podcast. The first one I did was horrible, absolutely nasty. And a lot of good people said, don't worry about it. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. The first ones we did were horrible too. So I kept working. I kind of got the hang of it now. It's not that hard. And I encourage other people to do it. We have got great talent on KLRN radio. And it really, really actually, I'm watching people grow into their roles. I'm watching people grow into their shows. Jeff, that was just on before me in the crease. He's just getting better and better and better and better every week. It's a joy to listen to him. I was sitting there. In fact, I almost forgot to go live with this thing because I was listening to what he was talking about. He was talking about one of my favorite subjects, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and the beginning of the universe and all this stuff, space. I was going, oh, hey, I guess I better do this show that I've got because I'm used to pre-recording and then going on. And you're welcome, Jeff. I mean every bit of it. And then very next thing we got coming up is Juxtaposition. I'm attached to that show. I really do love it. But I'm watching these shows, this talent, and you got to remember just to keep on keeping on with what you want to do. Don't let anybody discourage you from your bucket list. Don't let anybody discourage you. And yeah, you may suck, but like I always say about my golf game, if you can't do something well, learn to enjoy doing it poorly. I'm Alan Ray. I'm going to get on out of here. Juxtaposition is next on your Political Free Friday on KLRN Radio, America's podcast network. Hang in there, people. This will all be over soon. God bless you. We'll talk again.